New World may have the best combat of any MMO to date. Let's talk about why. Hello fellow humans, it is I, your glorious family leader, Shears. And Dog Dibble and I are here to talk about New World's combat. So, who is the company behind New World and what can we expect from them based on past experiences? Technically, it's Amazon Game Studios, but generally, much of the team seems to be from Double Helix Games. Now, Double Helix is not a new name in the industry, but they feel like a new name to many. The most notable game they have under their belt outside of New World is Silent Hill Homecoming. Their most recent game was Strider, pulling in a decent 78% score on Metacritic. Now, a few things to mention here before we go deeper. Currently, their website is down, likely due to the recent-ish acquisition by Amazon, and generally, this shouldn't mean anything bad. Further, their Twitter is roughly the same, it's dead, with the last post coming from 2015. So, Double Helix was absorbed by Amazon around 2014, that makes sense. That said, this means team changes, management changes, and obviously, budget changes. Because of this, we cannot do a direct comparison to New World and other games they've created, it just wouldn't be a fair comparison. The overview that we're about to go through will let us get a good idea of where they come from and who we're dealing with. Plus, I was curious, so maybe I did a little bit of what we're going to call cyber investigation of their team. Silent Hill Homecoming is perhaps the best game by Double Helix in terms of recognizability. However, there's another we'll discuss in a moment that many will recognize, and how it ties into New World directly affects the future of the game. Before we get there, we have to discuss some key parts of the team for New World. Like all big games, New World has a team, and that means there's push and pull up and down the structure. The top will not make all the decisions, and neither will the bottom. There will be some sort of synthesis between project vision and team ability. So, where combat comes into focus, we have two places to look. The project owner, who will manage what's possible and within scope, and the creative lead, who's going to work on what could be. At or near the top, we have Mike Roulette, listed on their LinkedIn page as the World Experience Lead, the project owner, and the game design manager for Amazon New World. These are big titles, for sure, but the important one here is project owner. A project owner is responsible for, among other things, the general strategy that will be used in the game. They have pull in the overall direction of the project. Next, we have David Verfaele as a creative director who has done some interviews directly on the combat system in New World. Working with these two will be many other people, but as these are the lead roles, we assume that they are where the buck stops, so to speak. I know what you're thinking. Cool story. Good to know, but why do I care? Well, this is where it gets interesting. Both are former Double Helix employees, and both worked on Killer Instinct in the past. I feel that this experience has been steeping them in what good combat design feels like. To get an idea on how that may have affected them, look at this quote from Verfaele during an interview with NME. New World's combat system is action-based, where positioning, timing, and attack choice all matter. Our combat system is based on physical hit detection. The attack capsules of an attacker's weapons have to hit defensive capsules that move in sync with the defender's animations. So, in other words, if you miss, you miss. If you dodge, you dodge. There are no magic bullets like in other MMOs with traditional targeting systems that auto-connect skill buttons to the enemy's health bar. While there is something to be said about hit detection and latency, which we'll analyze in another video, this system is very similar to fighting games where hit frames determine if you connect or not. You can clearly see an overlap here in detection styles. While not a direct comparison, if you had to imagine a fighting game company designing combat for an MMO, this is what most people would imagine. Going on, they say, most weapons have a few big hitting abilities that cause staggers and do big damage. Hitting those feels great, and when you get hit by one, you feel it. We also utilize impact sound effects, visual effects, and screen shake on the bigger attacks to further sell the impact of combat. While the fighting is different between game types, the weight of the attacks and how much each one matters should not be lost on the team responsible for reviving a classic fighting game. Taken out of context, the quote about the fighting system in New World could directly apply to a fighting game. So, how will the combat system evolve over time? No one can know that just yet. Based on the changes seen to date, they've made changes based on feedback. This can be a double-edged sword, though, as while we have opportunities to keep it fun, we also have danger in that influencers can disproportionately affect the outcome of the game for all people based on their personal preferences. Or lack of skill, just saying. We've already seen a move in the wrong direction by the PvP scaling being reduced, moving the game away from a more level playing field where combat is balanced towards the skill of the player and more towards the traditional method where the winner is determined by level and gear. Influencers from traditional MMOs have pushed for this change. While there should be an advantage to level and gear, it should only be exceptionally slight. Fights should be won by skill, and gear should only matter so much as it augments your skill. You should not lose a fight to someone face-rolling their keyboard just because they have a larger magic number next to their name. You should lose the fight because they had a slight advantage. They had the slight edge by level and gear, and they outplayed you. While level and gear are inextricably linked, they should only matter in that they give you a margin for error. They should not be an automatic victory condition. That said, there is balance here, and if you strike it wrong, you're going to run into some people making low-level PvP-only characters just to get an advantage versus high-level players. People are going to float towards the easiest way to win, generally, and that will have to be addressed. The current balance for PvE feels viscerally good. Combat is satisfying and feels weighty. Choices matter. If we can avoid things like damage-spun bosses in the future, we'll have ourselves a solid framework for whatever else is to come. The people behind the choices here have done a good job to date with the combat. Even where scaling fails, you cannot deny that the combat itself feels good. They have a good lineage to draw from. Experience with fighting games shines through for an all-around amazing combat system. Time will tell if the PvP is fun or not while leveling. Certainly, when we get past scaling and everyone is somewhat gear normalized, the combat will be a different story. We can speculate on whether or not they're going to have a skill tree for PvP, as other MMOs certainly do, but that's a future topic. A lot of this is determined by how much I listen to boosted influencers complaining about PvP. Maybe listen to the community at large here, and don't confuse the voice of a few popular influencers with the community. After all, it's the community that's going to pay your bills at the end of the day, not the influencers. Piss off the community, you may risk spoiling the game. PvE, so far, has been admirably fun for a game whose initial focus was on PvP. Please maintain course here, as far as combat's concerned. As the game evolves and we see new enemy types, I cannot wait to see what comes our way. Hold up, let me go to the store. I want Barkamedes, come on. I'm gonna message... Hold up. Hold up. Submit feedback. Why can I not have Barkamedes? Did I spell that right? No, probably not. Let me double check this. Barkimedes. Must have, please. 1 star. As always, please let me know what you think down below in the comments. Yeah, I just asked you to go down on the channel. Giggity.